So now we are going to talk about some interviewing techniques, and I will use as an example some oral history project that is from the Center for Puerto Rican Studies. So I worked as a Chicago historian, and the Center for Puerto Rican Studies is based in New York. It's the largest organization that research Puerto Ricans in the diaspora, and there was like researchers from different places across the country contributed to an archive of oral histories. And the reason that I present this as more research and not planning is because I will not have video actually of other projects. Most of my projects are using recording, and when I was a planner, I just like basically took notes. Sometimes I recorded, but I didn't save those things at all. And that's something that you usually also do. Like if you, for example, the focus group recordings, I actually like erase those recordings once like it is transcribed, just to like further be able to have people do. I tell people that they are anonymous, right, and that this is like confidential, so you don't want to by accident someone finding that or getting into your computer and all of a sudden it's not confidential. But in this case, it was like oral history, so actually people, the whole purpose is like to preserve the history of this person. So that's why I have this particular videos of like Puerto Rican leaders in Chicago. So I think that's one of the things that you should pay attention to is like how much an informant knows about your topic. So this is why it's important, talk to experts, but those experts could be residents and community members and people that really know about what's happening. Obviously, it could be that they have opinions in the neighborhood about just different topics, but I think that the more you have someone that is it is in the it has some interest, I think that makes it for a better key informant or stronger key informants. So in this particular case, we have like Jose Lopez, which is a community leader in the Puerto Rican community, and he remembers stories, plans, dates, people, places, and he has a lot of practice as a storyteller. So I will play what he's talking about, and he's actually talking about like how the Puerto Rican leaders came to the conclusion of creating Paseo Boricua, which is a commercial corridor that also has housing, a lot of affordable housing, in fact, and Puerto Rican businesses, restaurants, nonprofits, and so on. So he will tell you about how that Paseo Boricua came, or that particular commercial corridor came into being.
There was obviously a huge upsurge of gentrification, particularly in Wicker Park. And it was fastly growing. And we said, we need to do something about this. Either we do something or we are going to be totally displaced. We're going to be displaced from West Town and Humboldt Park, just like we were displaced from Lincoln Park, from Chicago and State, from Lakeview, and from all the other areas where we had lived. So in May of 1993, we worked with Alderman Billy Ocasio to convene a community summit to talk about the future of this community and to articulate a vision for this community. At the same time, we're doing very effective work already at Clemente High School. And so we thought that the educational reform that's taking place in Clemente will help to anchor the entire area where still there was a sizable Puerto Rican presence. And we did a study, and the study demonstrated that between Western and literally California, this area had the highest concentration of Puerto Rican owned property anywhere in Chicago that was on a commercial strip. So we said, this is where we need to focus our work. And so we began to envision the idea of an economic corridor, a cultural corridor, a place that would really help to not only institutionalize our presence here, but will help to perpetuate our presence here. And so we sort of came up with this idea of Paseo Boricua, to call this strip Paseo Boricua. And we came up with the idea that we wanted to somehow encase that with a streetscape. And we began to see, well, maybe one of those streetscapes could be the flags of Puerto Rico.
So here, he's like talking about how Paseo Boricua came into being. So there was a study first, and it was like done actually by the Department of Planning at the University of Illinois at Chicago, and they came up to the conclusion that most Puerto Rican businesses were in that particular corridor, so they decided to put some effort into actually finding other businesses and moving nonprofits into that area and other institutions in order to create a Puerto Rican enclave. And so they basically changed the name of the street and put a gateway in the form of Puerto Rican flags to say this is the Puerto Rican community or the Puerto Rican town, the Puerto Rican enclave, and very much what they were trying to do, it was actually halting gentrification, that it was displacing them historically from many other neighborhoods. So there has been like a continuous movement of westward in since like just like the 60s really, and until the 90s. And so that's what they wanted to do, just to slow down gentrification. But as you can see, he has a lot of information about plans, studies, dates, people and places, and he also have a lot of practice as a storyteller. So next we will see another clip that it will show you someone who is a long-term resident, even before Puerto Ricans started to move into this area of Paseo Boricua. Just someone who's also very politically active and knows a lot about history of the neighborhood.